Noontime at Utah Valley University. The sun beat over the grassy campus, a normal afternoon with laughter, footsteps, and the agitated buzz of students going back and forth between classes. Nothing out of the ordinary, nothing to indicate that in a matter of minutes, history would be viciously altered. Charlie Kirk, the founder of Turning Point USA and the most recognizable voice in conservative politics, stood on stage speaking before a group of young adults who waited eagerly to hear his words. It was to be just another on his American Comeback Tour, another rally, another opportunity to ignite discussion, to motivate, to provoke. And suddenly it did. A crack shot through the air. A noise that didn't fit in the secure, mundane pace of a university afternoon. A gunshot. Students stood still. Heads looked up. There was a moment when no one appeared to take in what had just happened. Then the second noise, the gasp, the shout, the instantaneous roar of panic. On stage, Charlie Kirk's body jerked back, his hand involuntarily shooting up to his neck. Blood started pouring from the wound. A sniper's bullet, fired from nearly 200 yards away, had found its mark. Chaos erupted. Cell phones fell. Some students hit the floor. Others fled, their cries ringing out throughout the courtyard. A sea of bodies surged towards safety, and security officers rushed to the stage. Kirk fell, grabbing at his throat, his once authoritative voice silenced by the brutality of the shot. Eyewitness videos taken in shaking hands would shortly inundate social media, reliving the horrific moment time and again for millions to view. It was 12:10 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time, September 10, 2025. The day America gazed into the eyes of political violence once again. Security rushed Kirk off the stage, attempting futilely to protect him as students shouted his name in shock. The air was filled with the sound of sirens. The university declared an immediate lockdown. Classes cancelled, buildings locked down, students instructed to stay in place. The secure, warm normalcy of noon was shattered instantly, replaced by fear, confusion, and the haunting reverberation of that one gunshot. News sources scrambled to verify what was going on. First rumors, shooting at Utah Valley University. Then the particulars, Charlie Kirk has been shot. The verification nobody wanted to accept arrived via official means within a few hours. Charlie Kirk had died. Former President Donald Trump, a longtime friend of Kirk's and a man who credited Kirk with exciting young conservatives, took to Truth Social shortly after. Charlie was legendary, Trump wrote, his sentences both eulogistic and political. He directed flags all over the country lowered to half-staff. Barack Obama issued a statement terming the act, despicable violence with no place in our democracy. Utah Governor Spencer Cox, clearly shaken, denounced the attack as an assault not only on one man, but on the foundation of free speech itself. Democratic House Leader Hakeem Jeffries spoke to a similar sentiment, calling, violence cannot and must not replace debate. But condolences did not end the questions. Who was behind the sniper rifle? What was the motive? How had a gunman been able to get a rooftop vantage point on the Losi Center building, armed, concealed, and ready to shoot into a crowd of students and faculty, during daylight, on a campus that was supposed to be secure? Police radio audio afterwards gave chilling details. The suspect was identified as all-black tactical gear, helmet, mask, aviator-style sunglasses, tactical vest. A ghost in plain view. He had discharged one, possibly two shots, and then disappeared into the chaos. Within 60 minutes, law enforcement said a person of interest was in custody. Relief set in for a moment, until he was let go. The shooter remained at large. The manhunt was underway. Students crouched behind locked doors, texting their families. Parents swamped local police lines with calls, anxious to know whether their children were safe. Officers combed the campus building by building, helicopters circling overhead. The university, typically abuzz with energy, had been turned into a fortress of fear. This was not a dark alley at midnight, not the sort of place where peril waits in ambush. This was daylight, a campus function, a stage constructed for discussion and ideas. Charlie Kirk had arrived to speak, to argue, to advance his agenda of conservative energization. Instead, his voice was silenced halfway through a sentence by the shot from a sniper. To his followers, Kirk was something greater than a political leader. At just 31 years old, he had grown Turning Point USA into a gigantic youth movement, building followers on college campuses, YouTube, and social media. His debates went viral, his speeches attracted thousands, and his attendance at conservative rallies often seemed larger than life. He was a husband, a father of 2 young kids, and one of the rising stars of a movement that was already planning for 2028. His untimely death was like having the torch snuffed out, a loss not only to his supporters, but to the larger tapestry of American politics. But in addition to sorrow, there was anger. How could this happen? How could a sniper hide undetected, during the day, on a campus that was teeming with security guards? How could the security measures fail so spectacularly? Experts started analyzing every possible aspect. Was this the act of an individual extremist lone wolf? Was it political? Or was something deeper and darker involved? America has seen political violence in the past, but this felt different. This was not clandestine in the shadows or limited to some distant fringe rally. This was a public execution, conducted in front of hundreds of witnesses, recorded by many cameras, spread instantly to millions. The distinction between safety and violence had been erased, in real time, on television, for the whole country to witness. As the ATF and FBI descended on Utah Valley University, the investigation went into high gear. The agents searched the roof where they believed the gunman had stood. Forensic units etched evidence on the pavement. Each second counted, because the gunman was still on the loose, and no one knew if he would attack again. At the same time, vigils started popping up all over the nation. At Texas A&M, students came together with candles, praying for Charlie's family and demanding unity. In Arizona, where Turning Point USA was based, young supporters stood with signs that said, "Justice for Charlie." All over social media, hashtags went trending, hashtag Charlie Kirk, hashtag Justice for Charlie, hashtag End Political Violence. But amidst grief, the discussion also turned darker. Was this the start of a new era of targeted political killings? Was America entering an age when political differences would no longer be resolved in debates or at the polls but in bloodshed? The questions hung like ghosts, and remained unanswered. Charlie Kirk's last minutes, recorded on shaky cell phone video, have already been played 1,000,000 times. They depict a man who cared about his mission, speaking to a crowd, fielding questions, participating in the free exchange of ideas upon which democracy is founded, until one shot ended it all. And now, America is confronted with a harsh reality. Political violence is not an abstraction. It's not history. It's not fiction. It's here, it's real, and it's just taken out one of the most prominent conservative voices of a generation.